There's this really fascinating movement happening right now. People are starting to turn away from these big industrial systems, and they're looking back to something way, way older for their health. We're talking about the healing power of plants. It's all about building a modern apothecary right in your own home. The philosopher Rudolf Steiner said this a long time ago, but this idea that nature has the answers for our well-being, man, is it having a moment right now. And it's not just some trend. For a lot of people, this is really about taking back a sense of control over their own lives.
Okay, let's get into it. Why this big resurgence in nature's healing? Why are so many people all of a sudden interested in growing their own herbs, foraging in the wild, and making their own remedies? What's really going on here?
Yeah, what is driving this? Connecting with nature is amazing for sure, but this whole movement, it's also a direct answer to a pretty deep and growing crisis of trust, a lack of trust in the very systems that are supposed to be keeping us healthy. To really understand the solution people are turning to, we've got to understand the problem first.
And that brings us to one of the biggest stories in modern agriculture, and a perfect example of why that trust has just eroded. We're talking about the story of glyphosate, which you probably know as the main ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup. So how did this chemical get, everywhere? It didn't happen overnight. It was developed back in '73, but the real game changer was in 1993 with Roundup Ready crops. All of a sudden, farmers could just douse their entire fields, killing all the weeds, but not the crop itself. Then around 2006, it got even crazier. They started spraying it directly on stuff like wheat right before harvest. So the chemical wasn't just around our food anymore, it was on our food. And as researchers started digging in, they began to connect glyphosate exposure to a whole list of pretty terrifying health problems. We're talking severe damage to your gut microbiome, messing with your hormones, and the most famous one, of course, is a specific cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. In 2018, this whole thing just exploded. A jury awarded a school groundskeeper $289 million. They agreed that his terminal cancer was caused by being exposed to Roundup. It was an absolutely massive verdict, and it basically blew the floodgates wide open. But that makes you wonder, right? If these health concerns were bubbling up for a while, why did it take so long for a case like this to actually win in court? Well, the answer is in this fascinating legal hurdle that basically puts science itself on trial. This is where we run into a legal concept called the Daubert standard. The easiest way to think of it is like a bouncer at a club for science in the courtroom. A judge has to decide if the scientific link is mainstream enough to even get in front of a jury. It's meant to keep wild theories out, which is good, but it also creates this incredibly high bar for any new or emerging science to get through. So here's the crucial part. Of all those health problems linked to glyphosate, only one, the connection to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, had enough solid mainstream scientific backing to get past that legal bouncer. That was the crack in the dam, and it allowed all these other lawsuits to finally surge forward. So you can see why this deep-seated mistrust started to build, right? It's led countless people to basically say, fine, I'll do it myself. They're turning back to nature to build their own home apothecaries, looking for that sense of empowerment and control over their family's health. And what's cool is that it's surprisingly simple to start, especially with high-quality organic herbs, a lot of which you can even grow yourself. This table here is a fantastic starting point. Feeling a cold coming on? Elderberry, thyme. Stressed out? You've got classics like chamomile and lavender. Upset stomach? Peppermint, ginger. These are really the building blocks for your own personal medicine cabinet. But okay, how do you actually take them? Well, there are a few main ways, and they all have their pros and cons. Teas are wonderful. They're soothing, it's a nice ritual, but they go bad pretty quickly. Then you have tinctures. These are the heavy hitters. They're super potent, they last for years, and they're amazing for emergencies. But let's be real, they can taste pretty gnarly. And finally, you've got capsules. Totally easy, no taste issues. The only catch is you might miss out on some benefits because sometimes the taste of an herb is part of how it works. Okay, let's pause here, because this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most important part of this whole conversation. Taking control of your health is empowering, yes, but it absolutely has to be done safely and responsibly. Knowledge is everything. So how do you do that? How do you actually use these powerful plants without putting yourself or your family at risk? Well, it really comes down to asking a few absolutely critical questions before you use anything. You have to remember these 3 red flags. Number 1, pregnancy. Some herbs are an absolute no-go. Number 2, nursing. An adult dose for mom can be a massive overdose for an infant through breast milk. And number 3, medications. This is a huge one. An herb can interact with a prescription drug, making it dangerously strong or completely useless. You have to be so careful and always do your homework. Now, as a very general guideline for adults, the best advice is always to start low and go slow. See how your body reacts. For something like a powder, a typical dose might be 1 or 2 teaspoons. For a potent tincture, you might start with just half a teaspoon. And how often you take it really depends. For a chronic issue, maybe a couple times a day. For something acute, like the flu, you might take it every 3 or 4 hours. When you step back and look at this whole story, it really all comes back to one single theme. Knowledge is power. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer trying to get evidence past the Daubert standard in court, or if you're a parent trying to soothe a child's cough. The goal is the same: empowerment through knowledge. And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. In the world we live in, we're stuck between these two things. These huge, powerful industrial systems with a history of broken trust, and this ancient plant wisdom that requires us to take personal responsibility. The question for all of us is, how do we navigate that? And who ultimately do we decide to trust?